After Hank himself, Bobby Hill is probably the most important character in King of the Hill. Where Hank represents the old guard, Bobby represents a new generation, one that has to balance the old way and new age thinking. This is shown in the difference between Hank and Bobby's characters. Where Hank is a straight arrow, Bobby can be a lot more crafty and sneaky. It's not uncommon for Bobby to be a force of good in the episodes that center around him, but sometimes he takes actions that may be less than ethical.
I'm not a very patient person.
Although much of it is regular teenage mischief. Bobby is ultimately a good kid with a good heart, even if that boy ain't right. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and today we're looking at Bobby Hill's deeds from best to worst. For this video, we'll be looking at the very best and the very worst. No gray area deeds because those are boring. These are Bobby's best deeds, starting with the good and working our way up to the very best. Starting with helping Hank with his bully. In the episode Hank's Bully, Hank gets a bully. A new family moves on to Rainy Street. The family's son, Caleb, starts harassing Hank constantly. Hank is unable to retaliate without appearing like the bad guy in the situation.
You don't ride on a lawn, especially when it's wet.
After Caleb's parents refuse to make him leave Hank alone, Hank decides to fight fire with fire and has Bobby start messing with Caleb's parents. This eventually forces their hand, and they make Caleb leave Hank alone. We're putting this one on the low end, because although Caleb is a nuisance, two wrongs don't make a right. That said, we were shown that all other options were truly exhausted before Hank and Bobby decided to fight dirty. Driving Dee Dee to the hospital, Bobby stays with Cotton and Dee Dee while Hank and Peggy spend their anniversary together. During this episode, Dee Dee's water breaks. As anyone who has taken a middle school health class or seen a sitcom can tell you, this meant that the baby was on the way. Bobby tried calling Cotton, but he insisted on meeting them at the hospital instead. This left Bobby to drive Dee Dee to the hospital himself.
Go around! Please, go around!
This took an incredible amount of courage for him. Though one could ask, why didn't Bobby just call an ambulance? Though Bobby's lack of driving experience could have gotten himself or someone else hurt, we admire his courage and dedication, helping Peggy overcome her feet insecurity. This episode was actually more Peggy focused than it was on Bobby. In fact, Bobby takes a back seat for the bulk of the episode, but he still leaves a real impact. Some very shady individuals take advantage of Peggy's feet for entertainment, and this leaves Peggy feeling even more insecure than ever. Bobby finds his mother in a very emotionally vulnerable state, and he helps her understand there is more to her than her insecurities. He does this by telling her he knows that he is overweight and that he is okay with it, because he knows that he's more than just his weight. He is a comic, he has friends, and he has a girlfriend. He may not be in great shape, but that's just a small part of the whole. Just like how Peggy's feet aren't all there is to her, helping her in a way that Hank had tried to earlier in the episode but failed to. Even though this is most of what we see Bobby for in the episode, he still managed to make himself an important part of the arc. A real testament to the quality of writing in the show. Being there for Joseph. During the episode of Mice and Little Green Men, Dale becomes convinced that Joseph was actually fathered by an alien rather than himself.
I didn't impregnate Nancy, so who did, huh?
This essentially drives a wedge between the two. Joseph goes out to look for the fictitious alien that he believes is his true father. Bobby is a great friend to Joseph in this episode. He follows his pal on this journey and keeps him from getting into too much trouble, much like how Hank does with Dale. Nobody would have blamed Bobby if he decided to stay out of this one and let Joseph do his own thing. Instead, though, he went above and beyond to help Joseph. Everybody needs a friend like Bobby. Fighting through gout for Connie. In this episode, Bobby and Connie are making plans for going to their school dance together. However, Bobby comes down with a case of gout after eating too much deli food. Hank insists Bobby fight through the pain so that he and Connie can still attend their dance. Bobby actually takes the easy way out for most of the episode, opting instead to drive around on a mobility scooter. At the end of the episode, though, Bobby comes to his senses and fights through the pain to do right by Connie.
When you really want something, you play through the pain.
This episode really shows us what Bobby's character is all about. Although he is lazy, and often likes to take the easy way out, you can always rely on him to do the right thing in the end. Sticking with the academic team. In this episode, Bobby joins his school's academic team to compete in the Quiz Bowl. Bobby's area of expertise is pop culture. At first, he seems to be able to glide through without much effort. However, after he makes a small mistake during practice, the pressure starts to mount on him, eventually culminating in him having a panic attack at the Megalo Mart. Afterwards, Bobby briefly considers quitting the team. After some gentle guidance from Hank, he decides against it.
You can handle this, Bobby, and I'll help you.
Nobody would have blamed Bobby if he had quit the team after that. The fact that he didn't shows a real determination in him that we don't see often in Bobby. Trying to mend Hank and Cotton's relationship. Families can be tough. In this episode, Hank and Cotton's relationship hits its boiling point, with Hank telling Cotton that he hates him.
Dad, I hate you.
Cotton sits down with Hank and they calmly talk it out like adults. Well, that's kind of what happened. If by sit down and calmly talk it out, you mean starts destroying the house they worked on together and locks himself in it. Bobby enlists the help of former President Jimmy Carter. The former president helps Hank and Cotton reach mutual ground, and they're back on speaking terms by the end of the episode. Both of them even admit their love for shooting a nail gun. Bobby wasn't a huge part of this episode, but his choice to get the former president's help did end up saving his father and grandfather's relationship. A small action for sure, but a great one. Protecting the girls who humiliated him. During this episode, Bobby is mocked by 3 older girls. These girls pretend to be interested in him, but in reality, they're just making fun of him behind his back. Eventually, Bobby catches on and unfriends them.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
However, near the end of the episode, these girls seem to be in danger when a pair of older guys start harassing them. Even though Bobby has figured out what they were doing to him at this point, he chooses to protect them anyway. It's easy to see that Bobby has a bit of a bleeding heart, which makes him vulnerable to being taken advantage of. But his ability to stand up for others, even when those people wronged him, shows his true character regardless. How he'll help people who need him, even if they themselves don't deserve it. Shooting Bandit to save Hank. During the Season 4 episode, To Kill a Ladybird, Bobby befriends a local raccoon that he finds digging through the family garbage. Hank, naturally, disapproves. At the end of the episode, a potentially rabid bandit nearly attacks Hank. Bobby proceeds to shoot Bandit, saving his dad. Even though this was clearly the right thing to do, having to shoot your own pet would be a terrible thing for anyone.
I saw him coming. I think he was gonna bite you.
Especially a kid. This level of sacrifice has to earn our top spot. This episode shows that not only is Bobby capable of acting for the greater good, but he can be trusted to make a tough call in a pinch, a trait that many adults don't have. And that wraps up our good deeds. Now let's explore the darker side of Bobby Hill. These are Bobby's bad deeds, starting with the bad and working our way down to the worst. Ruining Thanksgiving. This one comes from the 4th episode of Season 5, Spin the Choice. In this one, Bobby learns about the tragedy of what happened to the Native Americans from John Redcorn.
When does the killing end?
Enraged, Bobby leads a protest of Thanksgiving and its origins. Bobby wasn't wrong to be upset, but the issue comes from how he went with a knee-jerk reaction, rather than sitting down with his dad and talking about his newfound reservations involving Thanksgiving. Hank is a reasonable man after all. We're sure they could have come to some sort of understanding. This one isn't that bad considering how we all know at least one family member who loves to make a scene at holidays every year. This year just happened to be Bobby's turn, leading a protest to impress a girl. Hank says it best himself. Protests are best used as a last resort when nothing else works. We'd also like to add, if you're going to lead one, don't do it solely to impress a girl. In this episode, Bobby leads his classmates on a walkout from school that gets out of hand.
I could have sold you all out for my own game.
The kids begin looting and destroying Arlen. Bobby tries, unsuccessfully, to stop them. In the end, Hank is able to discourage them from continuing. Bobby's motives were pretty bad, and it led to a lot of chaos. Stealing money from Con. In this episode, Bobby and Connie's relationship is the focus. At one point, Con bribes Bobby to stay away from Connie.
Here's $300 to break up with Connie.
However, Bobby takes the money and uses it to rent a motel room for him and Connie. Bobby shouldn't have taken Con's money and just stuck to his guns, and handled it the honest way. Instead, he tries to have his cake and eat it too. We get it, Con is Con. He's insufferable most episodes. Regardless, lying and stealing is still lying and stealing. Stealing Hank's credit card. When Bobby tries to learn about finances from his dad, Hank shuts it down immediately, saying that Bobby is too young. Bobby starts snooping around and is led to believe that his family is actually rich.
My dad's got oil.
This leads to him stealing Hank's credit card and going on a spending spree with his friends. Stealing from your jerk neighbor is one thing, but from your own family is even worse. Sure, he thought that this spending spree would be a drop in the bucket compared to Hank's income, but even if he could afford it, it's never okay to use people's credit cards without their consent. Panhandling. In the episode The Texas Panhandler, Bobby wants a new pair of designer jeans. Hank encourages Bobby to get a job and earn them himself. Later though, Bobby sees a group of older boys panhandling and decides to take it up himself. Now, there's nothing inherently bad about panhandling. Some people are dealt tragic hands in life that make it an only option, but that was not the case for Bobby. He grew up in a middle-class home and just doesn't want to work.
I'm not one of those bums. I'm a cool bum.
He has no reason not to work, other than he doesn't want to. This is Bobby's laziness at its worst. Manipulating his parents. One of Bobby's worst traits is that he can be really manipulative when he tries. This episode is a prime example of that. In it, Hank and Peggy go on a date that runs long. This causes them to forget that they were supposed to pick up Bobby.
Honey, the thing is,
Don't want to hear it.
Peggy later tries to buy Bobby's forgiveness. This kicks off a gift war between her and Hank to try and get back into their son's good graces. Bobby, realizing what is happening, decides to take advantage of the situation. However, his parents do eventually catch on and turn the tables on him. They low-key threaten to never ever leave Bobby's side so he can never be forgotten again. Bobby cracks and admits what he was doing. What started as legitimate hurt feelings turned into playing puppet master. This is never okay, especially with your family. The reason why we rank it here is because out of all the times Bobby has acted manipulative, this one was not the worst. Also, we're sure there are plenty of teenagers out there who would have done the same thing. That doesn't make it okay, it just makes it more of your run-of-the-mill scheme most teens would pull if they thought they could get away with it. Season 5, Episode 3. Just this whole episode. All of it. He doesn't exactly do anything too reprehensible per se, but this might be Bobby at his most unlikable. He acts really creepy by asking Connie to let Joseph watch them kiss. He later punches Joseph, who may or may not have had it coming, but that's another can of worms entirely.
If my hand didn't hurt so much, I'd do it again.
Then, when Connie tries to make up with Bobby, he calls her some words that you just don't call your girlfriend. To top it all off, he, Connie, and Joseph crash the Bugabago into a streetlight and lie about it to everyone. Now, to be fair to Bobby, all the teen characters are really immature and insecure in this episode. But since this is his list, we're focusing on his actions. Throwing a party at Boomhauer's house. During the Season 3 episode, The Wedding of Bobby Hill, Bobby is house-sitting for Boomhauer. Meanwhile, Luann meets a new guy named Rad. Rad is kind of sleazy and pressures Luann and Bobby into helping him throw a party at Boomhauer's house, trashing the place. Luckily, Hank shows up and puts a stop to it, although he shouldn't have had to. If you're going to throw a party, you should really do it at your own house. Apparently, Bobby was never told this. Not cool, Bobby. Kicking Hank in the testicles. In terms of Bobby's bad deeds, this one might be the most infamous. In the episode Bobby Goes Nuts, Hank has Bobby sign up for boxing classes at the YMCA.
Look at me. This can't fight.
However, Bobby ends up taking a woman's self-defense class instead. This is where he learns the deadly art of testicle kicking. When Hank gets a wind of this, he takes it upon himself to teach Bobby proper fighting. Simply put, Bobby gets frustrated during the sparring and takes it out on Hank's nuts. This, combined with some egging on by Con, leads to him getting a big head. Eventually, this comes to an end when Bobby tries the sacred technique on Peggy and realizes that women are immune to it. We don't think we need to say this, but assaulting people, especially your dad who is just trying to help you, is wrong. Although this was pretty bad, Bobby did get some pretty good comeuppance at the end of the episode. Getting pinned to the ground on the front lawn by his mother while the whole neighborhood watched was the ultimate humiliation for a wannabe tough guy. Manipulating vulnerable girls. In this episode, Bobby becomes a student counselor in hopes of meeting girls. However, this backfires on him when one of his clients starts harassing him. This was after Bobby advised her to skip school and break up with her boyfriend.
I hear and respect your anger.
This one is pretty bad. People who work in counseling are in a position of power, and using that power to your own advantage can cause far more long-term damage than a swift groin kick. This episode portrays Bobby in a really negative light, with his manipulative behavior out in center stage. Burning down the church. Yeah, we had to give this one the worst deed spot for sure. Sure, Bobby had no ill intent, and no one was hurt, and yes, he did feel a tremendous amount of guilt to the point he even stopped eating.
I feel so bad.
However, in terms of purely bad deeds, we really had no choice. We won't hold it against him for starting the fire. Accidents do happen after all. But instead of coming forth and accepting his punishment, he let Cotton take the fall for it. Now, Bobby did eventually confess to his parents and Cotton, but this was after the police had already arrested and interrogated his grandfather. On top of that, he did not put up any real fight to try and accept the consequences after Cotton offered to take them for him. Bobby endangered a lot of people this episode and ended up letting an innocent man face his punishment for him. While Cotton's sacrifice was a surprisingly noble one, we still think it's one he shouldn't have had to make. But let us know in the comments section which of Bobby's deeds you felt was the most evil, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite shows, cartoons, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.